Lionel and Patrick, what a pair, thinking outside the box. They don't play fair, unconventional ways, breaking all the rules, making their own path, never following the fools. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain. Lionel's a dreamer with stars in his eyes. Patrick's a schemer with tricks in disguise. Together they're unstoppable, a force to be reckoned with. Their unconventional playbook, they'll never be second. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain. Against all odds they stand tall, through highs and lows they never fall. Lionel and Patrick, a duo so rare, with their unconventional playbook, they're always there. Unconventional playbook, rewriting the game. Lionel and Patrick, they'll never be the same, dancing to their own beat in a world so plain. Unconventional playbook, they're here to entertain.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. We're back in the house. PB and J, Patrick Buchanan, and Lionel Jones. We are here for another great edition to give you that great content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for all of your support on Unconventional Playbook. Mr. Buchanan, what's up with you today, man?
Nothing much, man. Hey, man, chilling out, the world is going, everything's going on, as long as sports is still going on. Don't it feel good, man, that dead period, right? Just that baseball between the NBA finals, and you watching some baseball and, the Twins get hot and then, in a little slump. Hopefully they can finish this game out against Cleveland. I ain't even look back at it, but and now it's just like you got college football constantly, right? Then you got, WNBA about to hit their playoffs, and then the NBA is about to start. So, man, it's good. Life's good. Family's good. Everything's good, man. But also, it's good to be on here with you and our subscribers, our fans with the UP.
Yeah, it's always good to be rolling with you and the UPers, man. This is my favorite time of year. You mentioned that dead period. I hate the dead period. This is my favorite time of year because everything starts coming together. You're going to have Major League Baseball playoffs. You're going to have the NBA starting. You're going to have college football, and then you're going to have the NFL football. So for a sports fan, it's like a big smorgasbord of everything that you want in the fall for sports. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then, Pat, on top of it, the cherry on top of the sundae is that the Minnesota Vikings are 2-0 and looking pretty damn good, man.
Oh yeah, man. That's the part that, is the joy, right? To be able to watch the purple and, watch what they're doing while they still got adversity that they're climbing with injuries, and they're still doing good things, right? And that's something we talked about, culture, and it's a good culture. And it was great to hear like the NFL Network, right? Good Morning Football talked about that's a surprise team, and then they talked about just how no one talked about Minnesota in the offseason.
No.
But the people in Minnesota, like the organization, they just kept quiet, and things were brewing over there, and we were untalked about, and now we want to be talked about, but we're still underdogs in the home game, right? 2-0, we've shown, right, what we're doing. So, I mean, it is what it is, and they'll continue to do what they're doing. I like it. Let them stay underdogs because that keeps a fire under their belt.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows to watch during the week, I always try to tune in every day, is The Herd with Colin Cowherd on Fox. And he was talking about Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins and what the difference is. And he, the one thing about Colin is that he always has like these metaphors that he puts into his sports broadcast. So he was talking about what's the difference between a baker and a chef. And he said, like, a chef is someone that is systematic. They always follow the recipes, to a T. They have to make the baked goods come out good. And a chef is kind of someone that is kind of off the cuff. They may spice things a little different. They really don't follow a recipe. They just kind of go off the head. And he compared Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins in that way. He said Kirk Cousins is a baker. You're going to get what you're going to get. He's going to follow the recipe the way he's supposed to follow it. And that's why there were times where Kirk Cousins was very conservative for the Minnesota Vikings and couldn't get them over the hump in terms of making plays. And then he said when he looks at Sam Darnold is kind of like a chef. There are going to be times where he's going to be great and the food's going to be good. And sometimes because he's trying to put so many things in there that he's going to screw it up. He's going to be a little bit reckless. And he thought that the chef is better for the team than the baker. And when he broke it down like that, I thought it was pretty interesting. I never thought about it like that, that Sam Darnold, he may not have all the accolades that Kirk Cousins has in terms of things that he's done in the league, but he may be better for the Minnesota Vikings than Kirk Cousins ever was in a purple uniform.
Well, I get the analogy he's talking about, right? Unscripted plays, right? Off-script plays, right? Being able to use your legs, escaping the pocket, right? Just things like that. I think that's, that if you're looking at me, that's what you're talking about. And then, Kirk can sling the ball. They both can sling the ball, right? There's some stuff in that young man's arm that you see is kind of special though as well. But that if that was me looking at it, it would be all the unscripted things, right? That he does, right? And the ability to use his legs. So that's what makes him stand apart from Kirk, right? And when if you want to compare him.
Yeah. We've been getting a lot of feedback from you peers out there. I've been reading your emails and the messages that you've been sending. And, thanks for all the love and support. You guys have been supporting Pat and I since we started collaborating together. So I really appreciate that. The one thing that we want to try to do with this show is that we want to listen to the you peers and give you what you want. So the one theme that I noticed over the last couple of days is people like, yeah, we're Viking fans, but we want to know what you and Pat think about stuff that's going on around the league because we respect you guys' opinion so much. So I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, we talk a lot of Viking stuff, but we watch other teams as well. So I got on the phone, called Pat. I said, hey, Pat, let's talk some NFL today. Pat said he was down with it. So we're just going to jump around the league, talk about some topics that maybe we hadn't hit on yet for UP Nation out there. Pat, the one thing, I know we touched on it, a couple of podcasts ago, but we really didn't get in depth. You look at the Bills-Dolphins game, obviously Tua with numerous concussions, but, previously had a concussion that game. People have been talking retirement. He's recently been put on the IR. It's a very unfortunate situation for that young man. Big time talent, had a stellar career at Alabama, just signed a big contract. In your opinion, what does Tua's future looks like? And, I know you're not a doctor, you can't tell, but obviously this guy's had numerous concussions, some scary ones. Now he's on the IR. What do you think his future looks like going forward?
The one thing that I know, just as in my field and just high school sports and being an athletic director, when you get one, you're just susceptible to multiple, right?
Yeah.
And, protecting yourself, right? It's funny, I had a young man who kept having concussions. He we got the waiver through the state high school league for him to wear a shield, like the little cushion foam, head cover, right? And he wore that in basketball and soccer, right? And he had to stop doing headers, in soccer. But those things are real, man. And those things, we seeing all the data that's coming back from back when they was playing in the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that. Like all of that stuff is coming back and the effects that it's having on people. Like if I'm a doctor, I'm just not signing off on it, right? I wish them the best, right? The Dolphins got a $44 million insurance on him if he never plays again. So they got money coming back to him. But for him, it's got to be bigger than football, man. And right now, right, it's unfortunate, right? Sometimes in this, I'll look at it in our situation, right? And it's life, right? Always, UP, y'all know, I always try to speak the life within it, right? And you and I have been trying to coach together, forever, right?
Yeah, for many
And
years.
life has not brought it together, right? We wanted it, right? There was many situations where we tried and life just didn't bring it together for it to happen. And
Yeah,
but we both went our ways and we stayed connected and bouncing things off each other. So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes the man upstairs has a different path for you, and I really think it's a different path. And if I'm any doctor, like the only way you're gonna get the doctor to sign off on that, I believe no doctor should sign off on him getting on the field, because if something happens, you did that, right?
yeah,
You did
yeah.
that because you know the risk that it is of playing for him out there. So I feel bad for him. I wanted to take a different spin, but I got to have a heart with what I'm saying, right? I wanted to say something else, but I'm gonna take the heart in it. Of man, it's not worth it, man. It's not. If this was one or maybe two, like you had two throughout your career, like in these 6 years of playing, 5 6 years, I wouldn't say anything. But dude, the way you was frozen there, nah, man,
Very.
uh uh,
Yeah.
mm.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with something else, Pat, because I know there are times we go to the bank and you look at your bank account, and I go to the bank and I look at my bank account, and both you and I are really blessed. I mean, we're not hurting, but we're definitely not making the amount of money that Tua's making. And so you talk about his last contract that he signed, you're talking about generational wealth. And I just think that at sometimes it's easier said than done when you're not making that money. And then you have these paychecks coming in that you can make for a long time because he's still a young man. You know, as an athlete, how do you sit down with the athlete and try to have him choose his health over that bank account? Because I can imagine that's got to be tough and just tugging and pulling at him a little bit.
Yeah, coach, you want to go to the bank account like the man as a rookie in the first round, you're getting $22 million guaranteed
Right.
off back, right? You're in the first year of it, you got so much of it guaranteed, and in your first your signing bonus, he already signed that, right? I guarantee that signing bonus was probably like 60 70 million dollars. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about but you got to now, how do you invest that? How do you get a side job? Like
Yeah.
whether you're on a panel, you can go to college, you go to NFL, sit on a panel somewhere, and you don't have to live like, you could, like JJ, I go back to JJ, like the reason why he won't buy $10 million house, because he didn't come from a $10 million, he didn't come from that. So
Right.
like you gotta invest your money. You gotta be smart about it. You can't. It's not about the flash and how buying this and buying that. Like you can still create generational wealth. If you telling me you can't create generational wealth with $40 million, then I don't know what generational wealth is, right? If you can't take that and create generational wealth out of it, so I look at that, but then I'm like, man, that's more money than you stepped in the league with. So
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with Flip Saunders one day, and Flip told me there's a lot of things I learned from Flip, man. Flip had a philosophy about life that was just uncanny, man. And so he was talking to me about wealth, and he was talking to me about when NBA players come in and they make that money, you know a lot of these players come from nothing where they really didn't have a whole lot of money, and once they get that first paycheck, that's when the craving starts to make more money. For me, you could probably hand me $1 million, and in the NFL perspective of things, for higher tier players, $1 million is nothing anymore. Guys are signing contracts for 150 million, $180 million over 3 or 4 years. But I can imagine if I had $1 million, the smart thing to do would not be to blow that money and to invest that money so now that money grows. But once you get used to having that money and living a certain lifestyle, I mean, you're gonna dabble in some things. I mean, probably gonna take some trips. You're probably gonna do some stuff around the house. You're probably gonna buy a car. Once you get a taste of that, it's hard to get that taste out of your mouth and think rationally. And I think some of these players, not just Tua, but some of these players that have multiple concussions that keep coming back for more and more and more, I always think back to Flip Saunders and what he said to me about stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of these players, this is the thought process that they go through. They get that hunger to have that wealth, whether it's $10 million, 20, 30, $40 million, they just crave to want more. And I feel bad because I can kind of understand that pull. You always think, well, this is my fourth concussion. I'm going to try not to get another one. And that's not really realistic because you can't control that, obviously. But I think this is what a lot of players are going through.
Well, yeah, but now he could be the spokesperson for it, right? You can travel with doctors,
Yep.
being at schools and college, like you get to be a spokesperson for it, right? You a door is open, one door closed, another one open, right? So, I
Yep.
mean, I wish him the best, but I mean, I get all the investment in there, but for man, I'm gonna bite my tongue on it because I don't want to be the negative bug in here.
Yep.
Like all the stuff, like I look at my man B-Flow and the stuff he done went through with the Miami Dolphins. I look
Yep.
at Tua calling them out, and I look at like karma for that organization. I know you building up. You probably had an opportunity to win that division, even though Buffalo looking like they gonna whoop your tail. But like
Yeah.
this karma, man, some where this ain't y'all time or whatever. But that's not for that young man, and sometimes it works that way. But yeah, man, it's like that's my piece on it, man. There's so many other things that we could talk about here in the
Yeah.
NFL, and I don't want to stick on Tua. Trust me,
Yeah.
he is not the one I want to stick on.
I appreciate your piece, man. I appreciate your piece on it. Something else that's dear to my heart. You know how big of an Ohio guy I am. I'm a Cleveland Guardians guy. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye guy. I'm a Cleveland Brown guy. You and I have gone around and around, about teams in Cleveland. I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns a little bit because Cleveland Browns has a quarterback that has, the biggest contract in the NFL in terms of guaranteed money. Plus, they traded a lot of assets, and I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. Now they got a win over the Jaguars. They won 18-13, and he did look a little bit better week 2 than he did week 1 against the Cowboys. But now Deshaun Watson, man, he's got like a body of work right now, and he's not, I can say as a fan, he's not really living up to that contract, and he's not really showing any signs of being the quarterback that he was in the Houston Texans. What do you think about Deshaun Watson, how he's playing? What did Cleveland do?
I'm not gonna make my off-air comments that I do with people about Deshaun Watson. Like I'm not gonna do that. So this is what I'm gonna say, man. I'm gonna tell you one thing that he did smart, right? And I
Yeah,
think there's other civil cases looming over him and the investigation that's gonna go on that. Like I think he's known about this, and this is looming over his head. I honestly do believe that, like in my mind, that would be affecting me because the NFL said if anything else comes up, we can suspend you.
that's right.
But the one smart thing that he did when he gave a little bit of money back to Cleveland, that little clause they took out of the contract. So they
Yeah,
had in the contract, if anything came up, this money comes back to them. So when he
yeah,
gave some money back this summer, they took that clause out, right?
yeah,
So he might feel free in the money sense, but he might have another suspension limit over his head. He just I don't know, man. I guess that year and a half off like really affected him because he does not look like the Houston Texans, right? And I know Stefanski can coach and coach on the offensive side of the ball, right?
yeah,
I don't even doubt that. I know that he can, but like he just I don't know, man. I had him on a fantasy team that I had, right? Because I used all my auction dollars on my position players. So he was a quarterback left out there, man. I let that man go and went and picked up Baker Mayfield. So um, he just like I don't know, man. He just don't look right out there. Maybe it'll get better for. I wish the best always for everybody. I don't wish ill will on people. That's just not who I am. So I do wish the best for him, but like with like it's almost like the 49ers. Like the 49ers are in the win now stage, right? And Cleveland with their dollars, I believe they're in the win now stage, right? Because it will add another dimension when Nick Chubb is back healthy, and I think they'll get him for the second half of the season. I'm hope, right? Because Nick Chubb's a fantastic player and a fantastic man. So, but him. Man, I honestly, what they should have did was brought Joe Flacco back as the backup
I
quarterback,
agree.
right? They shouldn't have let him get to
I,
Indianapolis. So,
yeah.
Deshaun just, I mean, but how so here was a question that I'll ask, Coach, because you're a Cleveland guy, and this is just for everybody out there. If you're watching the
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns games, right?
Yeah.
I looked at a stat, and if I'm not mistaken, Amari Cooper has like 20 targets, right? And
Okay.
he has 4 catches. Is
Yeah.
that ball placement or is that Amari Cooper?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little
So
bit of both.
you got
Just
your
watching
wide
the
receivers
game.
not performing when the ball comes your way as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's got some drops in there, Pat, for sure. I mean, he's got some drops, so that attributes to that stat that you just stated. But just watching the games, it's been a little bit of both. Honestly, when I look at the Cleveland Browns, man, they've just been this organization, Pat, where you just can't really trust anything. They can't get out of their own way. You can be a superstar, and it seems like to me when you put that Cleveland Browns uniform on, and it's been this way for years, that you just lose all of your superpowers. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, there was big time excitement when we got Andre Rison. I don't know if you remember Andre Rison, who
Yeah.
played for the Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta Falcons down there. That's where him and
Yeah,
Dion was fighting one
yes,
time with each other.
yes. He was running the league at the time. He was the best wide receiver in the league. Cleveland Browns pick him up, and Andre Rison loses all of his luster. I mean, just had some bad years. You can look at Odell Beckham Jr. Like everything was set. Odell Beckham comes to the Browns. He loses all of his superpowers. Johnny Football. Dude, I can go down the list. Johnny Football, no matter what the Cleveland Browns do to try to improve their team, it seems to be the wrong decision. In my lifetime, the only thing that seemed to work out is when we drafted Bernie Kosar from the University of Miami. Like that was the one thing that the Cleveland Browns did, that he didn't get us to a Super Bowl, but he got us to the AFC Championship game 3 times. And arguably was one of the best quarterbacks in the league during his peak. But the Browns just seems to be, man, this type of organization where no matter what they do, it just doesn't turn out right. And as a Cleveland Browns fan, it's frustrating. And it's starting to look like this Deshaun Watson decision is not the right decision for the Cleveland Browns. You're right. I would have brought back Joe Flacco. He proved he could move the team. He proved that he could get us to the playoffs. And I think we would be in a better situation right now if we had Joe Flacco as quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you think Bernie Kosar is one of the best things you did. I thought when you guys went down to Baltimore was one of the best things that Cleveland did.
You gonna hit me with that, Pat? Come on,
Oh,
man.
my bad, Coach. I knew it was gonna hurt when I did that,
Come
so
on.
my bad.
You might as well just stick a knife in my back, Pat.
That
Come on,
was a
man.
joke. That was my joke throwing out there because I thought that'd be kind of funny, right?
I
I
won't,
love
I
the
won't
dog pound. Dog
only
pound
take
is a
that.
part of the NFL.
Yeah, see, that's how good of friends we are, because I would only take that from you, man. It's like stabbing me in the back saying that Baltimore Ravens. Every time I watch the Ravens, I get sick to my stomach.
Oh man, my bad.
Speaking of the
I just
Cleveland
threw that out
Browns,
there.
yeah, speaking of the Cleveland Browns, moving on from the Cleveland Browns, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers upset the Lions 20-16. The former Cleveland Browns quarterback, who I didn't think they should have got rid of, Baker Mayfield, is having a resurgence in Tampa Bay. When Baker got drafted to the Browns, I had to forgive him for when he was with the Sooners planting that flag in the O of Ohio State. I had to forgive him for that and become a Cleveland Browns fan. And listen, man, he got us to the playoffs. He played well for us. His last year with the Browns, he played with the torn labrum. And I'm not surprised at that because I always said Baker's got that dog in him. And I thought the Browns should have been a little bit more patient with him, but they weren't. They had a chance to get Deshaun Watson. He bounced around from a couple of teams, Carolina and then the Rams, and now he seemed to settle in with Tampa Bay and having some good couple of years with Tampa Bay. What are your thoughts about Baker and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Man, you already know how I feel about Baker, right? He wear that OU Sooners all day long, so you
Yep.
know how I feel about him. Like Baker, one thing that Baker, like, and these are just all these quarterbacks, especially like the example of what I'm about to give about Baker is like Caleb Williams' example, right? And obviously he used to be a former Sooner too. And when you winning that Heisman Trophy and you have certain antics, right? In college, you can get away with those antics that you can't get away with men in the NFL, right? And you kind of got to grow up and mature, especially playing the quarterback position in the NFL, right? You can make some mistakes in college and get away with it, right?
Yeah.
You're not up against, like, not every college player doesn't go to the NFL, right? The NFL are the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
There's not 1,300, or how many ever schools, right? There's 32 teams.
Yeah.
That's it, right? That's, so it shrinks and they're so much more talented. And I just believe that, he got the commercials right away, like endorsements. He was thrown out there as the hype. It's out coming off the Heisman and all the things that he did, like sticking a flag in Ohio State. Like, you're not coming in the NFL and really disrespecting nobody. You're not about to be like Terrell Owens and get in the middle of the star and, put your arms out. Like,
Right.
you have to mature and people in the locker room have to believe in you and you got to be able to make the plays. But the one thing about it is what I believe that these young quarterbacks should not be thrown out to the fire. Even though I know I said on the UP, JJ McCarthy's come out there, I'm really looking at rookies right now and second-year players and guys that got thrown out in the fire, and that's looking at him, looking at Geno, looking at Sam Darnold, guys that got thrown out and had to go through their journey. And last year, one of the best things that can happen is at your fourth team, right? So now you're looking over at your wife. And she's been moving, right? You're looking at your family and you're looking at you got to have this reflection thing of, man, what am I about to be those guys that are just journeymen? Like, I'm better than that. And
Right.
I think his talent and system, great, fantastic coach down there. Tampa Bay has some tradition down there, and he's just in a place surrounded by good people, and Baker's not all over the place no more. Do you remember Baker in his younger years? Like,
Oh, yeah.
everything
Oh, yeah.
was like he's more mature right now. And he matured, right?
He's matured.
And yeah, he got $33 million. His next one's going to be nuts because everybody was like, oh, it's a fluke. First two games don't look like it was a
Don't
fluke
look
of
like a
last
fluke to
year.
me.
It
Yeah.
looks like he's just mature. And I'm going to use the word mature. He matured, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that Baker needed to do. And what they're doing down there in Tampa Bay, they like, dude, we won a division last year. Like, that's a division that no one ever goes back to back, right? The NFC South is always a new champion. They like, oh, we ain't favorites. We won this. Atlanta favorites. Like, man, that defense down there is for real. Raheem, not Raheem, but well, shoot, what's the coach name? I just lost the blank.
You're about to say Raheem Morris.
Yeah, but he's at Atlanta. So, but the coach down there, they're fantastic defensive minded coach, right? And Baker, they got their run game with White, and he got 3 wide receivers now, man. I mean, McMillan too from Washington. Woo, he got with Godwin and Mike Evans. Woo, he got weapons down there, man. He got weapons, and Baker slings the ball.
Yeah. Well, not to rewind and go back to the Cleveland Browns, but I think it's relevant, man. You look at the Browns had not made the playoffs since they got reinstated back in the league when the original team moved to Baltimore. And then all of a sudden Baker does that. And then all of a sudden Joe Flacco does that. And then they move off of those quarterbacks and go to Deshaun Watson. I'm telling you right now, the Buccaneers have themselves a franchise quarterback. How good can Baker be? That remains to be seen. But I know he's a franchise quarterback. For them to be able to move off of Tom Brady and have Baker Mayfield fall into their lap, they are extremely lucky because they've got a dog as quarterback. And if you want an early Lionel's lock, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win that division. Everybody's talking about the Falcons this, the Falcons that. I know who's at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and I know who's at quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I look on the other side of the ball and see the defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't going anywhere. They are going to win that division. You can book that.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I guarantee you that Tampa Bay Buccaneers wouldn't win in the prevent defense right?
No.
I guarantee they wouldn't win on prevent defense for the last possession when we
Yeah.
done been pressuring this man all game. I'm not about to give like he has the most comebacks in fourth quarter and overtime, like Kirk Cousins has that because people go in these prevents and
Yeah.
you the only way to beat that man is to put bodies in his face, and
Yeah.
they're gonna know that when they play him twice. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
since you
with you on
brought it
Tampa
up,
on that.
I'm going to talk about another Sooner. Plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a Sooner and a Bama guy. He'll kind of split. Jalen Hurts, man, what the heck has happened to the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts? You know, I've heard a lot of speculation, but just a couple years ago, Pat, Jalen Hurts was in the MVP conversation for the league, and the Philadelphia Eagles was running up and down the field on people, and they had a really, really good defense. And for the last season and at least the first two games of this season, they just haven't looked good, man. What's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts?
It's not the lack of weapons, man. And I know him and the head coach bumping heads or whatever, but he looks a step slower,
Yeah,
right?
he does.
He looks a step slower, and people have triggered on this. And I heard this in week one when the Eagles played about Jalen doesn't like to run left. And then I watched his first two games, and Jalen always comes out the pocket right every single time. It's like he
Why
can't
is that?
throw running left. I don't know if he can throw going left. Like, in my opinion, that's what I'm thinking. He
Okay.
can't throw running left, right? But when he gets out the pocket, he always goes right, and he's looking right to throw or run.
Yeah.
And people know that, so defenses are playing that way. If you watch the game, everybody watch carefully. He will run right every time. When I first heard that in week one, and I watched it, week one, then I watched it Monday night, and I said, this dude is not running left at all. I was like, man, so he looked like this is the part that, it annoyed me with Lamar Odom in against Kansas City in the playoffs last year, right? He stood in the pocket. That's not Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
Not Lamar Odom, but Lamar Jackson. That's not Lamar Jackson, right?
Yeah.
You run the ball, and then week one, he did what he was supposed to do. Like, if he did that in that game versus Kansas City in playoffs, they win the game. Use his legs. And right now, I think Jalen Hurts, when he was electrifying the MVP, the man was rushing for 60, 70 yards a game, right?
Yep.
He's
Yep.
not doing that anymore. He's getting his touchdowns off of a tush push, right? So he's not using the legs. I believe sometimes they take away these guys' strengths and get in their head that they got to be fully pocket, where that's not what got them there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So yes, you can be pocket and do that because you got those weapons around you, but he looks a step slower, and it looks like he wants to sit in the pocket and he's indecisive on to tuck it and run. And maybe Kellen Moore's offensive system, he's still trying to learn though too, right? He's still trying to learn this Kellen, and I'm not sold on Kellen because I'm just I watched him with Herbert, and I'm not sold on him. It's a reason why you're not at the Dallas Cowboys with him. Not like if you're this
Yeah,
good,
you're bouncing
you would have
around.
been done had a head coaching job. So I'm not sold on the offense coordinator as well. Even though people fault him for throwing that pass, but Bijan Robinson walks in the end zone or gets that first down. I mean, not Bijan, but Barkley.
Saquon.
Saquon Barkley catches that ball and the game is over. That's not a bad play call at all. So he was wide open. The ball went out of his hands. But I think there's a lot of factors with him, man. I don't know. He doesn't look like Jalen at all. So I don't
Yeah.
know. He just listen. Here's the thing that I do love to say, Coach. You keep jumping to these different teams, right?
Yeah.
The one team you ain't gonna jump to and see some problems is the Minnesota Vikings. All right?
Yeah.
It's the Minnesota Vikings because they got that shit fixed out over there.
Yeah. Well, they have arguably the best offensive coaching, defensive coaching combination in the league. I mean, you've got two guys in KOC and my boy B Flow that are masters of their craft. Like these guys aren't just coaching. They love what they do. And I don't see them outside of the TV camera, but I'm pretty sure that they are grinding at home. I know the type of guy that KOC is. He is he's an offensive guru. And B-Flow, you heard what quarterback for the 49ers said to B-Flow after the game about his team. And then you heard what J.J. McCarthy said when he was going into his first preseason game. He goes, I just want to see a vanilla defense. B-Flow is messing with people's minds, man. He's messing with people's minds. And I think KOC, as he starts to get his personnel, is going to be the same way on the offensive side of the ball. We've got the best 1-2 punch in the game in terms of coaching. And I tell you right now, the Wilfs, they need to extend these guys. They need to extend because the price is only going to go up. They need to lock these guys up because if you can't feel what the Minnesota Vikings are doing right now in terms of their coaching, their administration with Kwesi cooking this summer, I mean, man, it's not going to get any better than this. It's not going to get any better.
It's not going to get any better. And I'm not, like, I agree with you that they're, a fantastic duo. I just, in a sense, and this is not to contradict from you or you saying that they're the best, I will say that they are the second best, right? Only because Andy Reid and Spags, over there winning championships in Kansas City, and I think that combo is, after them, we're the best, right? Spags and Andy Reid, that combo of what they're doing over there is, I think, is fucking tough. I would love for that to be the Super Bowl. Like, that would be fantastic. Like, I think that's, those are four dynamic coaches right there at each other, right? And that's a chess match right there.
Well, Pat, I'm going to give you another one. I remember growing up, when I used to have chats with my father, and my dad used to always tell me, growing up, in this world, you're going to have to be twice as good to get acknowledged. I just remember him saying that. And so when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and I look at Tomlin over there and what his body of work has been since he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He doesn't have a plethora of rings, but he's got a ring. He's been to the dance and he's won the dance.
Yep.
And he has been faced with a lot of different adversity with that franchise. They've gone through a lot of stuff, injuries, transitions through quarterback, and through it all, Pat, he's always maintained a winning record. And he's off to a great start again this year. How good of a coach is Mike Tomlin, man?
Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches, like, out there, right? He is he's super smart. He's super articulate in what he says. He has great I was listening to this morning about did you hear the little phrase that he said? Like, if you don't want to know what's the ingredients in the hot dog or whatever it is, sausage is. Like, it's like you don't want to know what the ingredients is. Because it was about him giving this whatever ball to Russell Wilson, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's one of them special coaches that can connect to his locker. He has the attention, but he connects to the players, right?
Yeah.
And he's the longest tenured coach in the NFL right now. After when Bill Belichick left, he became the longest tenured coach, right? He's never had a losing season. People look at what he's doing, like people are arguing, man, you bring back Russell and, he might be able to get you more passing yards or whatever. But right now he's got Watt over there on the defense. He's got a fantastic defense that he's always had a fantastic defense. And he's got a game manager right now who he's given some confidence in letting this man grow and not having him look over his shoulder. And that guy is won the locker room and feels. I just think that Tomlin has a way, like, if I'm anybody, I would go want to play for the Rooney family and Mike Tomlin any day of the week, right? And the reason why they can't get a bona fide quarterback, I have no idea, right? But I'll tell you one thing, you're not going to lose and you're going to be taken care of over there. Like, that's the number one organization in all of any sport. In any sport, that is the top number one organization. I bet they rank them in the top 5, right? But they're number one and they got the number one guy, right? And Mike Tomlin, right? he's masterful in what he does, and his press conferences are some of the best, right? They're not like the boring Belichick press conferences, like one word answers, you know.
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin is are unique in his language that comes out, and it's not bad. It's just he'll get you like, damn, huh? You know,
yeah,
scratch head scratchers for you. So
yeah, yeah. And Tomlin, man, I look at his body of work, and I can't put my finger on why he's so successful. Some guys are great offensive guys, some guys are great defensive guys. I think Mike Tomlin is the total package type head coach, and I think what you see why he's been so successful. I think you touched on it a little bit, but I'll dive a little further. I just think, from year to year, he's got 53 guys every year that will run through a brick wall from him. He is the definition of a player's coach. Everybody wants to play for him. He's got 100% respect in that locker room from everybody. If you don't, he's going to ship you out. He means what he says. You can trust his word on everything. I mean, and I think players gravitate towards that, and they would like to see him be successful. You just haven't heard a lot of bad things about Mike Tomlin coming from players and coaches that he has had the opportunity to work with, and I think that's why he's been so successful. Let's stay in the division though, Pat, and look at the Ravens. Are you panicking right now after starting off your season 0-2, where in some circles you were picked to go to the Super Bowl, and now you're staring at 0-2 with a stacked squad? I mean, the Ravens haven't started off like they thought they would. Are you panicking right now?
like I mean, I don't have a dog in that fight, so it's not a panic. I think Harbaugh will get it together, but they're going to have to change. Like, why did you go get Derrick Henry if he's not going to be utilized a certain way? Like, that's the number one thing. Why would you go get Derrick Henry? Like, number one, I think the biggest thing that they did, like, and this is why Mike Tomlin's a motherfucker, right?
Yeah,
They took Patrick Queen from him. And Patrick Queen was a big part of that defense. And
yeah,
losing Patrick Queen was major. And for him to go to a division rivalry, that's just, whatever.
yeah,
But to come back this way, like this year, Lamar has 2 MVPs, and I still see flaws in his passing game, right? But the number one point is Derrick Henry will make it easier for him.
yeah,
But they got to use Derrick Henry the way that Derrick Henry needs to be used. And Lamar, you're going to have to go under center, right? You're going to have to go under center, or y'all going to have to go pistol because he's got to come downhill, right? But I think Lamar's going to have to go under center and learn how to play action. I just don't think he knows has the footwork to go under center and play action. So
Now, Pat, there's a lot of laymen out there, people that don't understand, okay, what does positioning have to do with the success of the Ravens and the success of Lamar Jackson and everything? Kind of, dive into that as a former football coach. Why does it matter whether or not you're under center or whether or not you're in the pistol or not?
So, and I'm using this sense for when it comes to Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry is a downhill runner, right? Derrick Henry, by the time he gets the football and he's coming full speed downhill, he knows where the holes are and where the gaps. And when you are a runner and you're just coming downhill and you're seeing that, right? That gives you decisions which way to go, where if you're in a shotgun and I'm just about to give it to you in this spread, you now get the ball and your momentum has to take you where your momentum is already going downhill when you
Right.
receive the football and you get to make quick reactions, right?
Yep.
And trust me, that 4 yards, 5 yards of coming downhill is a difference from being 5 yards back and being able to, where a line is in front of you, and now those gaps and holes have closed in that
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
In that time that the ball has to come back in the shotgun and the handoff, the gaps and the seams from running out of there, you could say, oh, well, that guy runs out of it, or this guy, but for his career, you got him at 30 years old. In his career, Derrick Henry is a 1,000-yard back who does it from coming downhill out of a single back formation or I back formation, right? So it's momentum moving forward, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's the best way that I can describe that when it comes to a running back, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to a quarterback, your drop step in a shotgun is different than under center. Under center, the steps that you have to take, right? Lamar's the play action coming from under center looks a lot different from out of a spread, right? Out of shotgun,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Because it's only a couple of steps you're taking because you already took the drop, right? You're already in a 7-step drop right there when you're already in shotgun, so he doesn't have to take it. All he has to do is hand off and get his hips turned and his feet squared up. So
Right.
it's just different in that sense. So that's just me describing it and describing the Derrick Henry of his whole career, college, everything. Every quarterback has been under center. Yeah, has he been in shotguns and ran? But if you look at his yards, his damn near 10,000 yards, right? You know, the rushing, right? He is out of the eye, right? It's out of a single back formation, not out of shotgun.
Yeah. That's why you are on the playbook. That's an excellent way to break it down. Please hit that like and subscribe button. This is Unconventional Playbook. Pat, have you been impressed with the upcoming opponent for the Minnesota Vikings, the Houston Texans? Why do we have a chance to win that game on Sunday?
B-Flow.
Okay.
And that's
You being consistent with that defense, man. You being consistent.
I'm consistent. His B-Flow is like I'm like something that's real to me, coach, right? Like we've coached before and we've been
Yeah.
players, right? And part of it is the personnel that he has and the scheme, right? That's part of it. But when you know how do you think your players feel and we both coach with energy, but when you have that energy on the sideline, what happens to those women?
Oh, they feed off of it.
They
They
feed off of it.
your energy.
And
Yep.
it's another level, right? That's the number one thing I'm gonna go with, right? I'm gonna start there because I've been seeing that, and that's resonating with me of his energy on the sidelines, man. If
Yep.
y'all go back and watch all film of last year, you did not see this. So in 2 games, he showed that energy. That's number one. Number 2, his scheme. His scheme is no one else. I believe he's the best, one of the best defensive minds in football. And yeah, on the other end, their head coach is a fantastic defensive mind. But the way that B-Flow teaches it and lets these guys be his own, he's going to screw with that young man like no one else is. And I know you're Buckeye, and you know this young man as a Buckeye and C.J. Stroud. The one thing that I look when I've watched 2 games of them, C.J. doesn't want to run the football.
Nope.
But you have to disrupt C.J. And
Yep.
he can throw going right out of the pocket. You got to make him come left, and you got to make him uncomfortable when he is in the pocket. He can throw on the run. I believe that he is going to play with his mind and give him so many different looks and disrupt the rhythm and timing of everything he wants to do. Because right now Joe Mixon is running well, and we might be blessed with a not fully healthy Joe Mixon, but he's got 3 dynamic wide receivers out there, and you can't give him time to do that. You're going to have to disrupt that young man and show him a lot of things. So the why they can win is that, and everyone uses the word quarterback whisperer, coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's whispering.
Yeah.
He might be yelling. I don't know if he's whispering, but he's yelling in Sam Darnold's ear right now.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, right? It's B-Flow, and then Sam just continuously progressing. And I just think they're all smart about this approach with whether it's the defense, the running game, the offensive line, the quarterback. Like they're not here, they're in this. Like when he came in and his phrase was always 1% better, now he finally gets to have a team that understands that 1% better every single snap, every single day. You know?
Yeah. One of my favorite classes in college that I've ever took was sports psychology. And I always said that if I wasn't a coach, I would probably want to be a psychologist because the human brain is just fascinating to me. One of the things that CJ Stroud was always criticized for when he was a Buckeye is that, we had JT Barrett. We had a lot of quarterbacks that used to get out of the pocket and scramble. CJ Stroud was not one of those quarterbacks. And he was asked by a reporter when he was at Ohio State, how come he doesn't get out of the pocket and run? And CJ Stroud said, well, I'm not a running back. I leave that to the running backs. I'm a quarterback. And so when an athlete makes a statement like that, you always wonder, where does that come from? Because the fact is, I know you're not a runner and you are a quarterback, but you should do whatever it takes to win. And if that means you get out of the pocket and run, you get your ass out of the pocket and run. And so what that tells me is, deep down inside, he doesn't want to run. He doesn't want to take those hits. So I think that you are right on target when you say B-Flow's going to make him do stuff on Sunday that he really doesn't want to do. He's a hell of a quarterback. He's a hell of a
quarterback.
Yeah. And I think B-Flow is going to make him do a lot of things that he wasn't going to do. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that. That's my assessment on CJ Stroud.
Oh, definitely. That's where I'm a lie at with it, right? I think it's going to be a one-score game, right? If it's more than a one score, that means that that defense kicked ass and Sam Darnold was lights out, right? I believe it's a one-score game because this is a good team. This is a team that I do believe will be in the AFC Championship game, right? I do believe they'll be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I'm not going to take away from the champs till they get there. But I do believe this is a team because they're good in all three phases of the games. I mean, you look at it, we had 6 sacks last week. They had 7 sacks, right?
Yeah.
Right? They had 2 takeaways. They had takeaways as well, right? And you saw some struggles within them in that Chicago defense. Our NFC North has a really good defense, right? All of us have really good defenses, but I don't believe their defense is like our defense, and I believe that he's going to do some things to disrupt them, right? I heard somebody say, a reporter say something funny, and it's from San Francisco in the NFL, and they were like, it's very hard to get at Brock Purdy and to throw him off kill. Like, that's how he's always been, like,
Right.
systematic, and he was able to do that. I'm curious to see what this scheme looks like to throw CJ off. And this is what I'll tell you. If this was Donatello's defense, CJ Stroud would light us up for 500 passing yards. But this ain't that defense. And I won't mention that man's name no more in that defense. I've stuck with it when I made my projections. This was a win that I had, right? I had this one locked as a win. Pat. What's that?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, this was a win that I pegged, and I pegged but also there's so many storylines in this game, Coach. You know, look at the players, right? They got Boyd and Hunter over there, right? We got Cashman, Griffin, and JG over here, right? Then Diggs coming back. I mean, the Miracle Man, the Minneapolis Miracle Man coming back, right? So there's so many different things and storylines that can play within this game. And I just think it's like, if I was them, I would move this game to 3:35 and have it be the game of the week because I believe that it is the game of the week.
Yeah. I think the Minnesota Viking fans are going to be loud and crazed. I mean, the buzz around the city right now is huge for the Minnesota Vikings. And you get that when there's no expectations. You know, everybody was talking about how many San Francisco 49er fans were in the stands last Sunday, and people that buy season tickets sold their season tickets. Judd Zolgad had an interesting take. He said nobody expected the Vikings to do anything, and this was one of those games where if you wanted to get some of your money back for paying for some of those expensive season tickets, you probably sold them online to other people because you probably were expecting, hey, no Kirk Cousins, we got Sam Darnold. San Francisco 49ers are coming into town. They went to the Super Bowl last year. Most people probably thought that this was probably going to be a blowout, and they were wrong. And so when you look at the game this Sunday, now Minnesota Viking fans are starting to believe a little bit. I also picked the Houston Texans to win this game in my picks. I don't know, Pat. I don't know. When I look at the first couple of games for the Houston Texans, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. And I know you've been hanging your hat on B-Flow and his defense, man. I think you are hitting the nail dead on the head. I'm not saying they're not going to have bad games.
Yep.
But the one thing you can count on is that defense is going to be up in your face, and that defense is going to be competitive every game. Will they fail sometimes? Absolutely. That's just the nature of the beast. You play 17 games, you're going to have your good games, you're going to have your bad games. But for the most part, that defense is going to be right there. And I don't think there's really any offense in the league with B-Flow at the helm that we can't handle.
No, it doesn't scare me. Like, I respect that other side of the ball of what Houston is bringing into town. I respect that 100%. But I guarantee you, B-Flow respects it, and I guarantee you all those defensive players respect it. But I also know that they believe in his scheme and believe in what it. Like, the guys that signed in the offseason knew what they were running to. The guys
Right.
that are returning knew what it could look like if they had the right pieces in place, right?
Right.
Here's the other thing about the game, Coach, is we have not played a mistake-free game, right? And you'll never play a mistake-free. And we have,
Yep.
like, our drives and our scoring in quarters, right? That's all over. And that's all of everyone on the offensive end getting used to it. But also, I think Addison's going to be on the field this weekend. So I think that's going to help, right? And with Naylor, out there, I just think that we haven't shown everything, right? We've had a couple of turnovers. We could have a couple of mishaps, right? On the defensive end, we had some balls that should have been interceptions, right? So we've left things out there, and we're reluctant to be 2-0 right now, right? If they can roll into bye week, I'm telling you, they're coming out in week 6, and they're going to be one of the teams you don't want to play when they're fully healthy, right?
Yeah.
And if they can keep grinding it out, right? The one thing they're showing us is what they talked about, though, Coach. Am I right or wrong? They talked about that T word, right? That P and that T word, toughness and physicality.
Yep.
And those are things that they're showing.
Yep.
They're showing that. They're showing toughness and physicality. Sam Darnold was sacked 3 times last week. You know how many times it was because of the offensive line?
How many?
1.
Okay.
1. The other was on Sam not getting out of there, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was we can only hold so long. He ran forward, then backpedal, got a sack, then he, backs into it I just think they're playing good in all phases of the game right now. If they were to lose this game, and I don't think they're going to get blown out, but if they were to lose this game, I think no matter how this game is going close, even though I think they'll come out on top, right? Because I think they'll have the last word.
Yeah. Well, if for Minnesota Viking fans out there, I'm going to suggest something. If go on to YouTube and go to the Minnesota Vikings YouTube channel and watch their Purple Access, on-field access, Week 2 game versus the San Francisco 49ers. If you want to see B-Flow at his best and how he coaches these guys up on the sideline and how in tune they are with him and the instruction that he gives them. And Pat, you talked about the energy that he has on the sidelines. If you want to see B-Flow at work, any Minnesota Viking fans, go watch that. It's on the Minnesota Vikings YouTube channel, on field, Purple Access for Week 2. It is absolutely extraordinary to watch that man work. Not only him, KOC2 and the other assistant coaches, but we've been talking about defense and B-Flow. If you want to see B-Flow interact with his players and coach these guys up, man, that was an extraordinary thing to watch. It's about 8 to 10 minutes, something like that. If you haven't watched, I don't know if you've seen it, Pat, but for those of you who haven't watched it, go to YouTube and watch that.
Yeah, and for all people in UP Nation, us Vikings fan, there's something I want to say to you because you keep hearing it, and I've coached so much, and I pay attention to this game really, really in depth, and I know we keep talking about it, and this is a great thing for us that we're talking about B-flow and our defense more than we are on offense, and that's not diminishing anything that KOC and the offense is doing. But the one thing that I've learned with every quarterback that has come in here, even a smart, nerdy, geeky person like Kirk Cousins, the playbook is tough, right?
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold has to learn that. And Sam Darnold doesn't have all his weapons. So the defense we're going to hang our hat on all year, but there's going to come a point in time when we're healthy and Darnold is super comfortable in this playbook where the rhetoric is we already know about defense and we start moving to phase it to the offensive side of the ball. But that's going to take a little bit of time, right? We scored 22 and 23 points. Yeah, that's good. But I believe that this offense is able to put up 30 points a game, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that that's going to happen. And I believe that putting up 20-something is miraculous of what they're doing right now. Will is doing a fantastic job kicking field goals, but the offense does not. And in any sport, defenses are always ahead of offenses, right? And that's why that's another advantage for us this game, right? Yeah, they got that coming back and they know it, but defenses are ahead of offenses. And just that time is going to come where we're going to say, okay, KOC got him rolling, right? Right now he's being a chef, right? Right now
Right.
he's being a chef, like KOC's being a chef, right?
Yep.
And he's right now he's mixing ingredients. It's not done yet, right? Right? Whatever he's cooking up is not done, and he's just mixing it up right now, and he's trying to test the flavors right now, make sure the herbs and spices is right, So
Yep.
That's going to come, and watch when that comes. You're going to hear so much more about it, but a fantastic job, he's doing right now with that group.
Yeah. Two shout outs I want to make tonight is to my guy Julian, who is the newest subscriber to UP Nation. So welcome all the way in Colorado. Skol to him. And then I want to shout out to Craig. Craig wanted us to go through he asked about the NFL power rankings. I don't pay a whole lot of attention, to be quite honest, to the NFL power rankings.
I do.
But I told him if we had time that we would go through that tonight. So before we wrap this up, I'm just going to go through the power rankings, kind of get your thoughts to see if there are some teams, that you would move. Do you agree with where, ESPN had their power rankings? I don't even know if you saw them. Again, I really don't pay attention to it from week to week, but I promised Craig I would do this. They've got right now the Carolina Panthers is number 32. They are the worst team in the league. I think you probably would agree with that, Pat. Number 31 is the New York Giants. Is that 31? Once you hear something crazy, Pat, just jump in and be like, I don't agree with that. The Denver Broncos are number 30 right now. Tennessee Titans, number 29. Number 28 is the Indianapolis Colts.
See, right there,
Okay.
that Indianapolis Colts are, they might be 0-2 right now. They played a really good game. I don't believe they're 28, but I'll let you keep going. I get that they're 0-2, but we can argue some things, the people that are 1-1 in the top 10. So,
for sure.
So.
For sure. Number 27 is the Washington Commanders. Number 26 is the Chicago Bears. Number 20. You give the big nod on that.
Well, Caleb ain't looking. He's a rookie, right? And
Right.
the defense is doing their job, but Caleb looked like doo-doo.
Yeah. 25, New England Patriots. Too low?
And these are what they think. And what the New England Patriots that you've seen on the field, the Seattle Seahawks is a fantastic team that they played, right? Right?
Yep.
That's a close game. And then they went into Cincinnati and won. That's blasphemy right there.
I think a lot of this, Pat, is brand expectations and wins.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville Jaguars should be down there at they should be replacing the Indianapolis Colts right now.
They're 0-2 and they're 24.
Right? Like you got an overpaid quarterback right there. You got a number one wide receiver that can't do nothing. Like you got one person who's able to do something for you, and that's the ENT in the backfield. Man, they should be down there replacing the Colts right now.
Yep.
I've seen them both play. And if you're looking at tape, one looks way better than the other.
Number 23, the Atlanta Falcons.
They went into Philly and won, but that was just dumb coaching.
That was dumb. It was dumb coaching. Number 22, the Cleveland Browns. Number 21, the Las Vegas Raiders.
They went into Baltimore and got that W, man. And I know they both went on there, and Cleveland beat a sorry Jacksonville team. So
yeah,
they're going to
flip flop those two at least.
Yeah,
that's where I start.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 20, Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, well, you're going to end up dropping them even lower than that without their top two wide receivers not having. They're going to even next week, they'll be down there in the low 20s.
Yeah. Number 19, they moved all the way up from 26. They were 26 last week, jumped up 7 spots to 19, the Arizona Cardinals.
That's where they belong, jumping up.
Okay. All right. Next, number 18, Cincinnati Bengals.
That's
number
a hype.
17.
But whatever, you could keep them there. It's a hype thing.
Number 17, this team dropped from number 9, the Miami Dolphins, are number 17.
Without Tua, they're going to drop even further down there. Who is there to throw the ball? But okay.
This team dropped 1 spot from 15, the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, leave them right there because, verdict's out. They're 1-1. Let's see.
Number 15, Green Bay Packers.
That's a good win. That was a great coaching job to get that win. So I'll let them stay right there.
Okay. All right. This team dropped 7 spots from number 7 to number 14, the Dallas Cowboys.
They probably deserve to be dropped even further back after that tail whooping at home that they get. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. Coach Zim is old, and that defense done gave up a lot of points in 2 games.
Yes, they have.
So that's one thing I'm going to say. Like, we've always respected Zim and his defense, but it might be dinosaur-esque. And I know the rhetorics that he's talked about of how he believes in the old school style, but he about to go look at Minnesota and how that energy and certain coaches, they're going to run with that more, right? Campbell, Don Capers had more energy than you in Washington, and y'all lost him, and he had a better energy, and he took care of that defense last year. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, this team dropped from number 4 all the way down to number 13, the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens probably should be dropped even lower than that.
Yeah.
Their performances have not been good at all, and to lose against the Raiders, who were struggling with passing the ball in that first game, for that to happen, and they ain't even got a run game. So,
yeah, number 12, Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm okay with the Steelers being right. I would move the Steelers up. Well, I get why you're there because you don't have a pass game right now, but the way that defense is playing, that's a serious defense. You're finding a way to win games. Yeah, So I'm at number 12. I'm gonna leave them there because I need to hear the rest because I'm gonna bump them up. I believe Steelers should be bumped up.
Okay, this team went from number 22 all the way up to 11. That's the Minnesota Vikings.
Well deserved to have a massive jump like that, right?
Yeah.
If you're 2-0 and you beat a team, how's that team 1-1 and ahead of you though? That's a question I'll ask.
Yeah,
so
I hear that. This team went from 19 all the way up to 10, Seattle Seahawks.
I do not think the Seattle Seahawks should be above the Minnesota. I would flip-flop them in Minnesota right now.
Okay. This team jumped from 23 up to number 9, the New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans Saints, what they've done in the first 2 games probably should be even higher than that.
Yeah, they've been really impressive, Pat. I
Yes.
can't argue. I can't argue
Yes,
that.
they have.
This team went from 17 to now 8. The Los Angeles Chargers and Harbaugh.
No, there's no way I'm flip-flopping you in Minnesota. You going down too. I respect your run game in 2-0, but you about to find something out in Minnesota, not in Minnesota, but that Herbert's going to have to pass the ball. And I'm going to just share that with you right now. That's not about to work.
Pat, I got a feeling the Chargers may keep going, man.
I believe they are, but I don't know. I need to see more that's going to work.
Okay.
Right? So I want to see people play different scheme against them, but okay. They're 2-0. I can't take that from them.
Yep. This team is number 7, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to be in the top 3 right now in the NFL.
Okay. Wow.
They should be top 3 in the NFL. I believe that they are the number 3 team right now in the NFL. And if they would, and I'm assuming who's at 1 and 2 is Kansas City and Buffalo, they should be the number 3 team in my opinion. No, number 4 team behind the Houston Texans. So, but go ahead.
Number 6, Philadelphia Eagles.
They should be dropped. Well, that was dumb coaching, and they're a better team than that. I mean, but they were at home and lost that and struggling to score, so I would drop them lower.
Yeah, they don't look good to me.
No.
I would probably have them lower on my list. They don't look good.
Yeah.
Number 5, the Detroit Lions.
I mean, the Detroit Lions are a good game, and in my opinion, they lost to a top 3, top 4 team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So,
okay. Number 4, Houston Texans.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, here's the problem that I have with this list is number 3. This team dropped from number 2 to number 3. San Francisco 49ers.
If
And
you were
look,
the
I
number
know-
2
I know
team
the
and you
San
lost to the
Francisco 49ers
22nd
one of
ranked
the best
team,
teams
you
in the
should be
league.
dropping further.
I'm not arguing that point. But if anybody watched the Minnesota Vikings game, Pat, that could have been a blowout.
Yes.
We don't turn the ball over. That could have been a blowout.
But
And
that's the point I'm trying to make, Coach. If they're looking at these games and knowing that fumble right there in the goal line, that's a touchdown, right? You're telling me you dropped one spot, okay? And Minnesota was ranked 22nd, and you were ranked 2, and you dropped 1, and we moved that far up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Number 2, Buffalo Bills. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs.
1, 2, 4, and I will move Tampa Bay up in there. I'm still dropping Kansas City some back, right?
Yep.
I think they're a really good team. I think they ran into a team that's more hungry, and I still think they're a top 10 team. But I got to move Tampa Bay in the top 4. Being that San Francisco was on the road, I'm okay if they were sitting at number 5, but I got to move Detroit down and I got to move Minnesota up because Detroit lost at home to Tampa Bay.
If you were creating this list, give me the number. Give me where you would slot Minnesota.
So
When you say
that's what
move
I'm
them up,
doing.
where would you move them to?
So that's what I'm doing right now. I would have them slotted at Kansas City, Buffalo, Houston, Tampa Bay. I don't think you can be ahead of us with losses and wins.
But is it about losses and wins though, Pat? Because look, the Ravens are 0-2. And we all know the Ravens are a better team than that. I think that's the respect that San Francisco is getting at 3. Like, even though they took a ding to the Vikings, I think the majority of people would agree that they're, a really good football team. So they're
Okay,
trying to keep them in that top 5.
Baltimore, to keep them in the top 10 of a power ranking or high in a power ranking, like we look at NCAA and we look at the ranking system there, right?
Right.
So in a power ranking system, Kansas City, they lose to them, fine, within a close game, but they lost at home to Las Vegas.
Is it because it was a home loss and it was the Las Vegas Raiders that you would drop them?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I wouldn't drop Detroit and 49ers so much because 49ers was on the road to an up-and-coming team, and
Yep.
Detroit lost to a really, really good Tampa Bay team. So
Yep.
those two I have more respect with their 1-1s, right?
I got you.
I have more respect with that. Seattle's an undefeated team that you went into New England and got that win.
Yeah.
That's not a high power win on the scale. That, like, if you were looking at it and it was the top 32 rankings, you didn't be the top. Minnesota just be the top 5 ranked team, top 3 ranked team, you know? So when we see that happen in college football, they invert, right? They move up, the other one drops down, right? Or something like that. So I see Minnesota, I would put them at number 7 right now.
Okay. I can't
This,
argue with that.
I like them at 7. If they win, if they win and Kansas City wins and Buffalo wins, I put them at number 3. Even if Tampa Bay wins, I put them at number 3 if they win this game.
Yeah. I picked the Vikings to win 7 games this year, so I'm not even going to sit up here in front and act like, I feel like the Vikings should move up. I think for me, the Vikings are probably right where they should be. I think the jury is still out on the Vikings. I love what I've seen for the first 2 games. I love it. Now it's about, okay, can we be consistent? And here's what I want from Sunday's game. If the Vikings lose, I know there is going to be some fans that immediately are going to jump off the bandwagon of the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not one of those people, but it's got to look the same. Like if the Vikings come in and lay an egg, there's going to be a lot of questions about the Vikings.
100%.
Is what we've seen for the first 2 games real? But if the Vikings come in and compete and lose to a good Houston Texans team, I'll be disappointed, but I have no problem with that. It just has to look right.
Yes.
And it's got to feel right. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because here's the thing. If they win this game or it's a close loss and they play fantastic and, whatever happens, right, tie game and I don't know, some whatever. Here's the thing I will say. If you, once again, looking at their schedule and, hey, who was that asked for those rankings first before I say what I'm about to say?
That was Craig.
Craig. Hey, man, good. Yeah. Hey, that's a great question. Like, I love going through the rankings. I pay attention to the NFL rankings. I don't believe in a lot of the rankings sometimes. I read their reasonings behind everyone. Like,
right.
The rankings that I look at, I read behind everyone of why they are in the spot they are. Sometimes, those writers and stuff should just shut the hell up. But that's my personal opinion, that don't even sound right. Like that, you're not even making sense for where you put him there and them there. So, but one thing I am going to say, and I think I talked about it on Sunday, is we get to 3-0, that schedule doesn't look as tough anymore. And
it does not. You're right about that, my friend.
Like it just doesn't look tough anymore. I think we got the Rams in week 7.
Yeah.
Doesn't look. Who's week 6 coming out the bye?
Let me check. I don't have the schedule up. Let me pull it up. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, man, because you're right. We win this game, that schedule looks a little bit easier.
That's the Jets coming out the bye.
Coming out the bye.
Jets in London.
The Rams coming out the bye.
Oh, we got bye in week 6. I was tripping. I thought we had weekend oh shoot. We got the Lions coming out.
I'm looking at so we've got the Texans, the Packers.
The Packers.
We've got the Packers. right? Then we got the Jets. Then we have the bye, and we come back and we play the Lions.
If Jordan Love doesn't play this game, which I think he shouldn't play, to set out only 1 week with the sprain, well, we'll have something for Jordan Love. Like I said,
Love practice today, Pat.
I know he practiced today, but I don't think he's going to play. If Smart, he better be ready for Minnesota and not do that out there. That's my opinion. It doesn't look at the Jacksonville, Tennessee, look how the Colts doing, look how the Rams doing. That schedule just doesn't look that tough anymore, man. Like,
I know.
It just looks different, and what's the toughest thing to do when I go down there to Iowa, coach, and make bets is picking the division winners. It's hard to pick them. Like, you take it, and last year you would have took, right, the Houston Texans, right, and Jacksonville, Houston Texans to win that division. Like, who would have chose that?
Right. Yeah. Division winners are tough, man. I don't even.
I mess with it. I mess with it, coach. I like doing division winners, trying to, push a whole bunch of different ones together. So I mean, it's a 6 parlay, right? Pick them, whatever,
Yeah. Speaking of parlays and picks and dabbling in a little bit of sports betting, we got Patrick Picks coming up at the end of the week. I know he's been scouring, looking at some things for UP Nation out there. I've got a great Lionel's lock coming up where if you want to make a pretty good penny, I've got a great lock coming up when we have the Patrick Pick show. So make sure you tune into that, hit that like and subscribe button, and welcome to all the new UPers out there. We're continuing to grow day by day. Pat, anything you want to say to UP Nation, man, before we get out of here?
Nah, everybody look for it. Continuously watch these other teams that are coming up that we're going to play. Compare us to them and how we're playing. Enjoy the ride. Like I said, the offense, right? It's a process, and they're doing fine, but it's a process, and we're not even at full strength. But just keep an eye on that B-flow defense, and don't give up your tickets, man. I don't think people giving up their tickets this week, coach.
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
Yeah, so tune in to them and enjoy your game, right? Like I said, I wish they would have moved it to the game of the week because I think that's the game of the week. So, but yeah, outside of that, man, I look forward to getting back on here with UP Nation.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure doing this show with you, Pat. It's been a pleasure interacting with UP Nation out there, man. I appreciate all the sentiments that you guys have been sending in about us, giving us suggestions for the show, telling us how much you love the show. Means the world to Pat and I. We're just going to continue to do our thing, so make sure you tune in, especially tune in on Sunday nights for our Vikings post-game show where we are on live. You guys get a chance to come on live at 8 p.m., interact with Pat and I, put some stuff in the group chats, and we can have a good conversation about the Minnesota Vikings win over the Houston Texans. On behalf of my guy, Patrick Buchanan, and myself, Lionel Jones, we will make sure to see you when we see you. Have a good night, UP Nation. Latre, take us home, man.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm a man? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am? I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man?